What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Legacy United Voyager class Prime Universe Thundertron. And what a crazy character to update as part of the 40th anniversary, as this guy never actually appeared in the Transformers Prime TV show. I do believe originally there were plans for him to show up as part of Season 3, but ultimately he was savagely cut in favour of the Predacons, and that's a shame because for those who don't know, Thundertron is the leader of the Starseekers. They are basically a group of Cybertronian pirates, and I think it would have been awesome to have seen how this faction would have interacted with the likes of the Autobots and the Decepticons. But the design has always been banging, and to be fair, this figure is pretty accurate to some of the very few CG renders which do exist for Thundertron. So as we check out the details, the head sculpt is looking wicked. I really like how it is incredibly Alphatron inspired, and the sculpting in battle damage which can be seen throughout is looking sick. Check out the slashes which we have completely scattered throughout the entire robot design, and there is definitely a reason why we are seeing Thundertron released in Wave 1, and I think it's because Hasbro have plans for a future reissue or retool, and to be honest, my point is kind of backed up once we check out the shoulders. So, for the right hand side, if you lift this up, check this out. It can transform itself into a 5mm port, which is blast effect compatible, so technically this could transform itself into an over-the-shoulder cannon, but the left-hand side is super distinct because it is packing a pair of slots which you do not use for either robot or beast mode, and these aren't even compatible with the accessory that Thundertron includes. So I definitely think we're going to see these play a bigger role in the future. I guess only time will tell, but besides that, definitely a banging figure. In terms of a Thundertron, I think this guy looks great, an awesome update compared to the original. The only downside that I have found would be that he is unfortunately quite hollow. So as we check out the forearms, he is packing these huge gaping holes, and originally I thought it was due to transformation. I thought the fists were going to fold inside, but they don't. These are just on these ugly mushroom pegs, which again are clearly visible, so they don't look too great. And as we check him out here from the back, the legs are super hollow. Now this is not terrible because I will be fair and say that the plastic that he does have feels incredibly sturdy. He definitely doesn't feel cheap, but for a mainline modern Voyager, especially stacked up against the likes of the animated Optimus Prime, I do wish some of these gaps, especially the forearms, could have been filled in. But as we check him out here from the back, he is super nicely detailed, and that Starseeker insignia is looking wicked. Now, as we check out his accessories, up first, he is packing a Cybertronian sword, which much like the robot design has been so nicely detailed. Check out that sick battle damage. And a super cool feature, which is a direct carryover from the original, would be the ability to transform his foot into an actual peg leg. So, all you have to do is grab a hold of it and rip it clean off. Army mateys! And you have a proper cybernetic peg leg, which I think looks sick. It's also blast effect compatible, so for whatever reason, maybe his sword becomes damaged in battle, he can rip off his own foot and begin blasting away at the Decepticons, or maybe even the Autobots. But something which I'm surprised Hasbro never took full advantage of is that the back skirt is completely removable, and am I crazy or would have this created for a proper Cybertronian shield? I think it definitely looks the part, but unfortunately it doesn't include any 5mm posts, so I'm hoping in the future maybe we can see an upgrade kit release for Thundertron, which would give him some much needed defense. Now, as we check out Thundertron's posability, he is surprisingly very well articulated. So to begin with, the head's on a ball joint. This will look down, it will look up, rotate left to right. The shoulder pads can move side to side, up and down. The shoulders will kick forwards, they will kick backwards, they will go out to the side. There is then a bicep cut and a way past 90-degree bend here for the elbow, which is sick. The wrists are on swivels, although they are slightly restricted due to the inbuilt Wolverine claws. And the waist joint is interesting because if you transform him correctly, unfortunately you only get a very limited range, which doesn't do much at all. But if you check him out here from the back and slightly detach the back pack, check this out, you now get a much greater range, which is wicked for posing. The hip skirts are on ball joints, so these will go forwards, backwards, out to the sides. The hips will kick forwards to that far, they will then go backwards, out to the side. There is a thigh swivel, a knee cut, which is super cool, a knee bend, which can go slightly past 90, and then in terms of the ankles, these can rock side to side, forwards and backwards, and then for the side which can transform into a peg leg, this can rotate all the way around, although it does kind of detach, so definitely be wary of that. But to see what he is truly capable of, now let's put him through the pose test. Now, checking out some comparisons for a right old blast from the past, we have the original 2012 Voyager class Thundertron, and I think mostly the new release is a great update. Now, that's not to say it's perfect, because there are still things about this design which I prefer, but he is mostly easily recognisable as how he originally appeared, or should have appeared, in the Transformers Prime TV show, and in terms of enjoyability, this one definitely takes the win. They have completely abolished all of the transparent components, which, let's all face it, kind of made this one a little cringeworthy to handle, especially 10 years on since its original release. So I think if you missed out on the original release and, like myself, loved the design, I still think you are really going to like this new Prime Universe version. For some recently released Beastformer comparisons, we have the Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Cheetor, the Legacy Evolution Nemesis Leo Prime, and then for some general comparisons, the absolute go-to, the Earthrise Optimus Prime. And then finally, for an actual Prime Universe comparison, we have the Legacy Evolution Leader Class Skyquake. Now, as we check out Thundertron's transformation, Hasbro definitely had some new tricks up their sleeves when it comes to this guy. So, up first, you are going to want to take a hold of the beast head and detach it away from the entire chest unit. We can then take this section and hinge it backwards for now. Then what you'll do is rotate at the bicep so that the outer forearm armor is now facing towards you. Then we're going to flip here at the shoulder, just like this, and do exactly the same on the opposite side. So, rotate this section here forwards, flip at the shoulder joint, and now make use out of these transformation butterfly joints. So these are going to hinge inwards like that. Do the same here for this side, and they're actually going to connect directly down the middle. So snap those there into place. Then what you'll do is take this section, bring it here down. Now what I thought was kind of cool is that the hollowness of the biceps actually form these slots, which are going to slide into those tabs. So just kind of hinge those upwards like that. And then on the top of the forearms are these slots. They're going to slide into basically these little tabs here. So just bend here at the elbow, make sure that beast head is out of the way, snap those there into place, and then on the base of the hands there are these two little circular ports which are going to slide into these tabs. So line that up, snap that section there into place. I thought that was super cool. And then for the next step, I love to work on the shoulders, which are genius in the way they have been engineered. So what you'll do is open up the main shoulder pad, and basically the beast mode legs are completely concealed inside, which I thought was brilliant. So what we'll do is completely extend all of these joints here like that, rotate at what is basically the beast mode bicep, and then this massive circular port is going to slide into that slot. So just snap that section in there. We can then take the shoulder pad, slide this down, do exactly the same here for this side. So open this up, completely extend all of those joints, rotate at that bicep, and line that port up with that slot. Fold the shoulder pad here down. Then what you'll do is come here to the backpack. So you are going to completely detach this. Then what you'll make sure of is that on the outside of the neck is this massive slot that this tab on the underside of this piece should slide into. So you are going to want to slide this piece here all of the way in, just like that, and then basically apply some force and shoot that all the way in there, and it should snap super securely into place. Then for the next step, you are going to want to take the hip skirts, fold these here out to the sides, take the cybernetic tail, spin that out to the back, take the thighs, rotate these here outwards, and then rotate at the knee swivel, just like that. So do the same here for this side, rotate outwards and then rotate inwards. Then you're going to want to take the outer claws of the feet and fold these here backwards on both sides. And a pretty cool piece of engineering, which to be fair we have come to expect when it comes to Beastformers, would be you are then going to want to take the shins and basically break these here forwards like that. Then what you'll do is bend here at the knee and bend at the hip, basically crunching all of that up. Do exactly the same here for this side, so break this here forwards, break the knee backwards, bend here at the hip, just like this, and then you'll spin around here to the side, take the skirt armor, kind of flip this here to the back, and then for a finishing touch, you are going to want to line these slots up with these back tabs. So just snap all of that there into place. And bang! Here we have Thundertron fully transformed into his cybernetic base mode. Now, I've always found it kind of crazy how this guy is basically a space pirate patrolling the galaxy, yet he transforms into basically a mechanized lion. Surely it would have made way more sense had he transformed into something like a pirate ship, but this beast mode definitely again is pretty spot on to how the original Transformers Prime Voyager Thundertron looked. So, as we check out the details, the face sculpt I think is a straight up improvement in comparison to the Leo Prime. It looks way more ferocious, packing some pretty decent details, and I love how the front legs transform. To think that originally these were stored inside the robot mode shoulder pads is just brilliant. The only real issue I have again would be how hollow the back of the legs look, and due to the way they transform, they are a little more noticeable in this mode than they were in robot mode. But as we check him out here from the top, that battle damage detailing is looking sick, as so are all of the individual multi-layered mechanized panels that are sculpted into the tail. So definitely a pretty banging beast mode to accompany a wicked robot mode. Although, as we check out his weapon storage, this is kind of lame because the sword doesn't integrate into the design, it basically does just slap on top. And another missed opportunity that I've noticed is that the tab on the sword is not compatible with the slot that he has on the hip skirt. It would have been amazing had he been able to store his sword on his side, much like a traditional pirate in robot mode. So again, I'm not sure how the design team missed that when it came to kind of working out the tolerances of the tabs and the slots, but I'm pretty certain that will be something that will be upgraded in the future. And as we check out his base mode articulation, surprisingly pretty good. So up first, the jaw can open and close. Arrgh! You can also take the mane and bring this forwards and backwards. Technically, if you officially transform him, the articulation for the front pair of legs is a little restricted. So the elbows will move forwards and backwards and you get a tiny bit of toe hinge. Although if you mistransform him, check this out guys. We get a kick out to the side at this shoulder joint, and this can also move forwards and backwards. And then there is a bicep swivel, which I have found to be amazing, especially when posing this guy into some slightly more dynamic ways. As we check him out here from the back, because these are basically the robot mode legs, we retain all of the same points of articulation. So the hips will move forwards, they'll go backwards, you then get the knee bend. Because the right hand side is packing ankle articulation, you can definitely make him look quite natural depending on how dynamic you want to get with the poses. And then finally the base mode tail, unfortunately, is just articulated at one point at the base. Would have been brilliant had there been a second hinge at least in the middle, but overall definitely not bad posability, especially when it does come to a beast former. So I am hoping, engineering wise, we can see what the team have kind of done here with Thundertron integrated into some of the future beast former releases. Now, checking out some base mode comparisons, on the right we have the original Thundertron. Now, unlike robot mode, where there was still quite a few things that I loved about the original design, in beast mode, hands down, the new legacy version annihilates the original in about every single way. I think the proportions are way more on point with this newer release, and the articulation is literally leaps and bounds different. So, definitely, at least when it comes to beast form, this one is the clear winner. Here is how he stacks up against the Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Cheetor, so definitely a pretty decent size for a base former. And then finally, the most recent legacy beast former, we have the Nemesis Leo Prime. Now, I like pretty much everything about Leo Prime's base mode, with the exception of that incredibly derpy head sculpt. So it's definitely brilliant to see Hasbro put just a slight bit more anger in the sculpt when it came here to Thundertron. But in terms of beast mode, I think this one's better because it is supposed to be kind of a real life lion, whereas this one is more mechanized in its design. But in terms of size, definitely a beast. And so, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Legacy United Prime Universe Thundertron. Definitely a great update compared to the original figure. The only downside really at the end of the day is that he is quite hollow, but to be fair, that was something which even plagued that original 2012 Voyager. So it's something that at this point I think unfortunately we are just going to have to get used to. I do however think that Hasbro have bigger plans for this mold, maybe to turn it into a completely different character, because there is a reason why why they have specifically chosen Thundertron, a character which never appeared in Transformers Prime, to be released in the very first wave. So I am excited to see as to what they're going to do in the future, but just as it stands, if you were a fan of the original, then I think overall you're really going to like this guy. I would love to get your thoughts on Thundertron down in the comment section below. What do you guys think? I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next review, transform and roll out!